Welcome into my channel again. I've got a short story for you today. Hopefully it's short. I'm going to have to pare it down a little bit. I'm going to be smoking my Peterson Shamrock from about the 1970s, what I can tell. I looked it up online. They made a Shamrock, which was kind of a second line, and sent them to the United States. And I'm going to be smoking that here in a little bit, but I want to tell my story first before I get started on it, because once I get started talking, it seems like I can't keep things lit. And I'm going to put some of my Peterson's My Mixture 965, which is one of my favorites. Anyway, I want to tell you a coon hunting story. I don't know if you've ever been coon hunting. You may not know what coon hunting is. But back when I was in high school in the mid-70s, me and my dad and a bunch of my friends got into coon hunting in a really big way. He had done it a lot when he was a kid, but I never had so much. So we decided we were going to get back in the business and go coon hunting again. Going to chase those raccoons. And so we didn't have any dogs. Didn't know where to get them. So we went to a local dog trader. I don't know if you know what a dog trader is, but it's about the same thing as a horse trader. And a horse trader will about tell you anything to get you to buy the horse. And it was the same thing with this dog trader. He'd tell you anything to get you to buy the dogs. Will they hunt? Yes. Will they tree a coon? Yes. Are they trashy? It means they go after other game besides coons? No, they're not trashy. How much do you want for them? $50 a piece. Had two black and tans that we were looking at. He wanted $50 a piece, which should have told us something right then, because back in that day, a good coon hound would start at $500 up to $1,000, maybe even more. So we should have known when he said $50 a piece, but we didn't have a whole lot of money. Our cousin was with us, and he said, well, I can't buy both of these dogs. And cousin said, well, if you buy one, I'll buy the other, and we'll take them hunting. So shelled out $50 a piece for the dogs, the black and tan coon hounds. So that weekend we wanted to go try them out, and we did. And it was me, my dad, my dad's cousin, and one of our friends, one of our mutual friends by the name of Bob. I'm not going to mention any more names because we want to protect the innocent. We went coon hunting that night, and it didn't go real well. First thing that happened is they treed a possum just right off the bat. And if you're coon hunting, you don't want to tree possums. And the man said they weren't trashy, but apparently they were. So they treed a possum. And we all got a big laugh out of that, especially Bob. And we turned them loose again and took off again. And in just a little while, they treed again. Thought, boy, they've got something now. So we went up on the tree, and it was just a little short tree, wasn't over 8 or 9 feet tall, just really a little scrub. And we got to shining our lights around in that bare tree, and we found a civet cat in the top of the tree. And I don't know you know what a civet cat is. We call them civvy cats around here, but I don't think that's the proper name for them. And they're not like the civet that grows, that's native to Southeast Asia and Africa. And it's not even the civet cat that we have here in North America. But really, what they are is a spotted skunk. They're a small, weasel-like spotted skunk. And they had treed that civvy cat up that tree. Bob was just laughing and hee-hawing by now. He thought that was the funniest thing. He said, boy, you boys got you some good dogs. I mean, you've got some dandies. You've got some really good $50 dogs. And we were getting kind of aggravated because we knew that they really weren't any good. And he said, I'll tell you what, boys, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make you this bet. He said, any coon that those dogs tree tonight, he said, I'll climb the tree and I'll knock it out. And he just laughed. Oh, he knew they weren't going to tree no coon. They might tree another possum or something, but they wasn't going to tree no coon. I'll climb any tree. If they tree a coon, I'll climb it and I'll knock it out. Now, in the coon season where you can actually kill a coon is in the wintertime, December and January, and we were in the middle of the winter, and we would sell the hides for money. They would bring in a lot of money back in the 70s, and usually if you were going to sell the hides, you tried to shoot them out so that the dogs didn't get a hold of them and tear the hide up too bad. But we decided to take Bob on, and we were kind of kicking the ground and saying he's just making fun of us, and he was. And he was just laughing and having a good time. I'll climb any tree that those dogs tree a coon in. It just so happened that about 30 minutes later, they struck a trail. They trailed a little bit, and they treed. So we went down there to see if we had another possum or another civet cat or whatever it may be. And we got down there in that holler, on the edge of a holler. That was one of the biggest oak trees that I've ever seen in my life. And I mean, there wasn't a limb on it up there for a long ways for a while. And we got to shining our lights up in that tree, seeing if we could find a coon. Of course, it was winter time and there were no leaves on the tree. And way up in the top of that tree, at least 50 or 60 feet up there, we saw the silhouette of a raccoon, and he looked at us and his eyes shined, and he was way out on a limb on that big old tree. And like I said, it was right on the edge of a great big hollow. And we all looked at Bob and said, Bob, you think you can climb that tree? I mean, it was big. You couldn't reach around this tree. And I don't know how tall it was, 70, 80 feet, right on the edge of that hollow. And it was a steep hollow. It was a steep grade down the other side. Well, he kind of had to eat his words, and he said, I can climb that tree. I said, Bob, you don't need to climb that tree. It's too dangerous. It's too big. He said, no, I told you boys, if you treat a coon, every coon that them dogs could tree, I'm climbing the tree. I'm going to knock it out for them. I said, okay, have your way. So we gave him a boost because, like I said, there wasn't even a limb on it for a long ways up there. And we finally boosted him up to where he could get a hold of a limb, and he kind of bear hugged that tree and crawled up. And slowly but surely, he began to make it taller into that tree, limb by limb. And he was a pretty big boy, Bob was. And we didn't think he could climb the tree at all, but he did. Well, he finally got up there. I don't know how high he was up, at least 30 or 40 feet, and started going out on the limb where that raccoon was. Well, he started trying to scare it out, see if it'd jump out. He was hugging that limb just for life because he just knew he was going to fall out of that tree. And he slowly crept out on that limb, inch by inch, little bit by little bit. And I don't know if you know anything about raccoons or not, but they're not as friendly as they show them on TV. And that raccoon began to snarl at him and show his teeth and do that little growl that they do. And he said, boys. So that raccoon says, he's going to eat old Bob for breakfast. I don't know if I can knock him out or not. I said, well, Bob, you said you were going to. I said, don't be afraid of that little old raccoon. You're bigger than he is. Yeah, but he's snarling at me. He says, I'm going to tear him up. And they will. They're mean. So he crept out on that limb a little bit further and a little bit further, inch by inch, creeping out there. We're all shining our lights up in the tree on our headlights, and we can see him up there, and we can see the coon way out there at the end of that limb. And all of a sudden, Bob lost his grip, and he came tumbling out of that tree, and he fell that 30 or 40 feet straight down. Luckily, landed on his feet, bounced on his butt, and fell back up against the upper side of that tree, because if he had fallen on the other side, he would have rolled way down into the bottom of that canyon, and there's no way we'd have ever gotten him out of there. My dad was saying, oh my gosh, how in the world are we going to carry him out of here? He's hurt. He's hurt. We can't carry this big old boy out of these woods. There's no way. And we were all getting worried. The funny thing about it, when Bob came falling out of that tree, and when he hit the ground, and when he grunted, those dogs just pounced on him just like they would a coon. They thought the coon had come out of the tree, and they pounced on him, and they began to attack Bob there on the ground. He says, boys, 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 get your dogs, they're eating me up. Well, once we found out that he wasn't really hurt, we all had a good laugh out of that, and we thought it was funny. And Bob almost got ate up by a raccoon and almost got ate up by the dogs, but he didn't get hurt. Thank the good Lord. The Lord had to have been with him. He didn't fall down on the other side of that tree down in the holler, because he'd have rolled down another 100 feet at least on those flint rocks. And if he'd have got hurt really bad, we'd have never got him out of those woods. But we laughed. After we knew he was okay, we laughed. We carried on. Bob's going to climb the tree. Good tree climbing, Bob. Almost got ate up by the dogs. Good job, Bob. But as we grabbed our dogs and walked away from that tree, we were still shining up there. And that old raccoon was still sitting out there on the end of that limb, probably wondering what the heck is going on down there. One thing about coon hunting, let me say this before I close up. One thing about coon hunting is that you go places in the dark that if it was daylight, you wouldn't dare wander into them places. That's just the way it is when you go coon hunting. Have you ever been coon hunting? If you have, put it in the comments. Let me know. We don't hunt anymore. We got some good dogs after that, but we got rid of those two dog trader dogs real quickly. And we got us some good dogs, and we had a good time. And we hunted for several years. And even after I quit, my dad just kept on hunting and raising dogs for years and years. Anyway, that's my coon hunting story. Now I'm going to smoke my Shamrock and load it up with my mixture 965. And I'm going to wish you happy smokes. And thank you so much for tuning in today. And I hope you stayed to the end of this to hear the end of the story. Anyway, God bless you and have a good day. Thanks.